You look great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. How is everybody?
We've got a really big group.
I only see 3 heads.
So I don't know if Jesse's told you, but we have. There's Jeremy's back here, Dr. London.
Good evening.
Hey. Great to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, so we've got a really big group this time. We have about 70 people that are signed up for the program.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
Do you want to try and show it?
Well, I can just do a little quick spin around here, and you can see maybe. Let's see how this works. There's people over there.
Wow.
Wave. I'm not very good with doing this, but there's people all around the room here.
Wow, lots of good-looking people too.
Yeah, we all look so healthy.
So anyway,
Even better at the end.
I've been talking you up a lot about how amazing this program is, and they really want to hear what you have to say. That I've tried to paraphrase a little bit in our first meeting. So we just finished the pre-cleanse today, and we're going to be moving into the cleanse starting tomorrow.
That's fantastic. And how many people are repeats?
Oh gosh, repeats. Yeah, I'd say about 20%.
And how many people have read the book?
Everybody. Everybody.
All right, good. So that is good. So I don't have to repeat my story again.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea of how you want to do this chat?
Well, I think it would be great if you talk to us a little bit about what we're going into, the cleanse, and how it's different than the elimination diet. Because it is different, and what happens during those 21 days, it's important that we're able to stick to it to really get the detox and not just the general health benefits.
Yeah. Well, the detox gives you general health benefits too. But the difference between the pre-cleanse and the detox is that during the detox program, you're now going to be starting to eat less. And when you start to eat less, you start to go into a deeper and more intense detox mode. The thing is, the less you eat, the more intense the detox mode that the body goes into is. And the reason why is because digestion itself consumes a lot of energy. So we are decreasing the workload of the digestive system, and therefore the detox processes are intensified. That's why we have a liquid breakfast and a liquid dinner, and then a solid lunch from the elimination diet as well. So when you do the elimination diet and you do 3 meals from the elimination diet, you already go into somewhat of a detox mode, but it's intensified during the program itself. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. So the one, what I want to do is I want to give you a few minutes of an overview of why cleansing and detox is important, and then we can go into questions. Because I think that when people ask questions, it gets really interesting.
Phone. The head register. Hey.
What happened?
I don't know. You froze.
Okay. All right. So
Sorry.
so how are people seeing me? You're projecting it?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're up on a wall. You're about, I don't know, maybe 6 feet tall, but it's just your head.
Yeah, my mom tells me I have a big head. So what's happening is in general in the world, people are eating much more than they were eating hundreds of years ago, or even less than that. But throughout our evolution, we've had we've had to, like the rest of the animals in the planet, we've had to look for food, and we were not finding it all the time. So we had forced periods of fasting, and then when we found food, we had short periods of feasting, right? And during the periods of fasting where we were looking for food, that's where the body goes into an intense detox mode. But some years ago, and I'm not that good at history, so I don't know exactly when, but more recently, food is available all the time, and we are actually eating it all the time. So we're digesting all the time, and because of that, our detox systems kind of slow down. When you are digesting, most everything slows down. Even the thinking process slows down, because the body is busy digesting, and because for thousands of years the body didn't really know when the next meal was going to be. The moment that you eat something, the body kind of slows down everything and dedicates itself to digesting. And one of the ways that you can prove that is, when you have a huge meal, let's say in Thanksgiving, where people go and stuff their faces, people basically fall asleep. And yeah, there is a biochemical explanation for that, and some people call it the alkaline wave, because the body is producing hydrochloric acid, and for every hydrogen atom that is used for the HCl, there's an OH, because it comes from water, which is H2O. So when you take one hydrogen from H2O, you are left with HO or OH, which is an alkaline molecule, and it alkalizes the blood, and they say that when it goes to the respiratory center, that kind of depresses depresses our alertness, and you go into kind of like a sleepy mode. But basically, that's just a biochemical explanation to the fact that when we are digesting a lot, the body's systems slow down, and the reason why is because the body doesn't really know, or evolutionarily doesn't know, that we're going to eat in 15 minutes again. So it kind of slows down everything, and one of the first things that gets slowed down are all the detox processes in the body. Now, this is an evolutionary glitch, because since we are exposed to so many toxic chemicals today, we should actually be intensifying. If our adaptation mechanisms function correctly, we should be actually detoxifying more and more, because we're exposed to more chemicals. But the more we eat, the less we detox, and the more exposed to toxic molecules that we are, and that is kind of like a conundrum, like a glitch in evolution, right? And that is one of the reasons why so many people are getting sick today. So it is very important that periodically we stop this madness of eating so many times a day and so much variety, and we give the body the chance to catch up with the processes of cleansing and detoxification. When you look at all the programs that are out there, the one thing that they all have in common is that we slow down, or we give the digestive processes a rest. Most of the cleansing programs out there, detox programs out there, have in common that they have either all liquid meals or some liquid meals, or at least a reduction in the intake of all the foods that are difficult to digest, and that that take time for the body to digest, and also that are loaded with toxic chemicals. So this is something that allows us to kind of compensate for the madness of the lifestyle that we're living today, which is completely unnatural. When you look outside in the world and you see animals living in the wild, or and the wild is just another word for natural conditions, right? As nature designed things to be, animals are not eating all the time, and are not exposed to so many toxic chemicals as we are today, and they don't get sick. You know, animals that live in natural conditions, they born, they eat, they reproduce, and they die of old age, or are killed by other animals, or by a disaster of nature like a earthquake, or something like that. But you know, you don't see animals in natural conditions with cancers and diabetes and high blood pressure and depression and autoimmune diseases and all these kinds of things. So this unnatural lifestyle that we created, this modern unnatural lifestyle we created for ourselves, is comfortable in one way because we have light and electricity and water and ovens and fridges to store food, and we can access it 24/7. So on one hand, it's great, all these modern inventions, but on the other hand, it's what's killing us, right? And part of the reason that people get sick these days is the exposure, the load of toxic chemicals that that end up in our bloodstream. The way that toxic chemicals end up in our bloodstream, the way that we are exposed to them, is through the air that we breathe, through the water that we bathe and shower with and that we drink, through the cosmetics that we use, which part of them are absorbed through the skin and end up in our bloodstream, the medications that we use, all the household products for cleaning and washing and all these kinds of things, and mostly through the food and drinks that we consume. You know, foods today, when you go to a supermarket and you take a bird's eye view of everything that's available in a supermarket, you see that 90% of the stuff that people consume come in some kind of container. It's either a bag, a box, a jar, a tube, a can, and in order to be able to last in these containers, they need to add chemicals to them. And these chemicals that they add, which we call preservatives, are none other than antibiotics. Antibiotic, bios is life, antibiotics is anti-life, and these preservatives, what they do is they prevent bacteria and funguses from growing and spoiling the food. So when you go to a supermarket, remember, the longer the shelf life of whatever you're eating and buying, the shorter your life is going to be. So this is a big problem today, and if you look at the statistics of health in the world, you see that the highest incidence of cancers and autoimmune diseases, and in general the chronic diseases of the modern world, are most pronounced in the areas that are most industrialized. And this is because of the toxic chemicals that we add to life, to everything in life. We are it is very difficult these days to be free of exposure to chemicals if you live in the modern world. So this is why it's important to cleanse and detoxify. What happens is these toxic chemicals that enter our body through our lungs, through our skin, but mostly through our digestive system, first of all, in the digestive system, they kill the good bacteria, the intestinal flora. Because of that, they disrupt the microorganism population in the gut, and bacteria that are resistant to these chemicals start growing, and also parasites and viruses and yeast and all other kinds of microorganisms that shouldn't be there, creating a condition called dysbiosis. Now that also affects digestion, because many of the foods that we eat need to be pre-digested by the good bacteria. And not only that, the good bacteria act as a satellite liver of sorts, because the good bacteria detoxify about 40% of the toxic molecules that we are exposed to. So when you kill the good bacteria, you actually double the workload of the liver. Now, the next structure that these chemicals encounter is the intestinal wall, the cells that line the digestive tube and that are responsible for digestion and absorption of nutrients. And toxic chemicals and dysbiosis affect the intestinal wall, and they disrupt the continuity of the cells, just like in your skin. If you poke holes and new cells don't grow back to cover these holes, you're going to get little pockets of infection and other irritation and problems. So this also happens in the intestinal wall, creating a condition called hyperpermeability. And there is where the Achilles heel or Achilles tendon of our biology is, because when there's dysbiosis and hyperpermeability, that's where many of the diseases of the modern world starts. I just finished writing a book called Clean Gut, and it's about how health and disease start in the intestines. I compare the intestines to the roots of a plant, because that is where we absorb the nutrients that are going to then travel through our circulation to other parts of the body, where they're going to be used in order to run the body and actually even construct the body, right? So this part of our body, this instrument that's the gut, is one of the most delicate instruments, and one of the organs that does one of the most important functions, which is acquire things from the outside world and absorb them into us so that we can build ourselves and run everything that the body needs to run. Now, after the food that we and one thing is, not only the disruption of the intestinal flora and the breaking of the intestinal wall not only happens because of the chemicals that we add to our foods. The quantity and the frequency and the combination of foods that we use, which are also completely unnatural, causes a lot of trouble. Even if there are no toxic chemicals in your food, even if you eat all organic food, because we eat so much, we eat so frequently, and we mix things that in nature would be impossible to mix, because the seasons don't allow for a mixture of things that grow. Some things grow in the summer, other things grow in the winter, and and the quantity of the food that we eat, that alone is a problem. So once these chemicals disrupt the intestinal flora and create dysbiosis and break the intestinal wall and create something called hyperpermeability or leaky gut, then they go into the circulation. But before they go into the circulation, they have to pass through the immune system. Around the intestinal tube, around the digestive tube, lives about 80% of the immune system of the body. And the immune system is there around the intestinal tube because that's where most of the possible foreign stuff that can come into the body, that's where food and most of the organisms that we are exposed to, that's where we are exposed to. So it's our most trafficked border. And if you see the immune system as something like homeland security of a country, which is watching for anything foreign, anything threatening to the body, where would you deploy the troops? in the most trafficked border, right? So that's where the body deployed its troops, the immune system. So then these toxic molecules, they go into our circulation, and that's where they cause havoc. And they cause havoc in many different ways. One of them is by irritating, by oxidating, by blocking certain chemical reactions in the body that are necessary, and so on and so forth. Now, the other problem that happens is that because the digestive functions and the absorption functions are disrupted, and because the intestinal flora is not pre-digesting certain foods, then our absorption of nutrients is impaired, and we are lacking many of the nutrients that are needed to run the body's chemistry optimally. So you see, it starts getting complicated. There's many factors that play a role in why the exposure to toxic chemicals ends up causing so many symptoms and diseases. Then on top of that is the fact that, as I said, the detox processes are depressed because we're digesting all the time. So this is in a few words what is happening and why it is important for us to detoxify, to do a detox program, right? We're not doing anything new. We're not inducing the body to do anything that it's not trying to do or doing naturally all the time. In fact, the detox systems, the detox processes cannot stop for a minute because we would die. So we are constantly cleansing and detoxifying. What we're doing with a detox program is just creating the conditions for these processes to happen more intensely and more effectively. You know, many of the doctors that I encounter or that you will read about, or nutritionists or scientists that say that, you know, cleansing and detox programs are a fad and they're ridiculous because the body is already doing what it needs to do. They really are not thinking about it in the right way. Because, for example, we all have muscles and tendons and bones in order to move and do stuff, right? But if you eat in a certain way and you exercise in a certain way, you are going to enhance the work. You're going to potentiate the work of the musculoskeletal system, and you can actually shape it in many ways, like the bodybuilders do, or like extreme or athletes do, right? So in the same way, just like there is a musculoskeletal system that is already doing its work, if you create the conditions in a certain way, you can actually strengthen and mold the musculoskeletal system to do things that it would normally not do. And in the same way, when you create the conditions for the detox systems and the cleansing systems of the body to work more effectively, you can achieve results that you would not achieve in the normal, and I say normal like that because the conditions that we live are not really normal. They're normal to us because we're born into these lifestyles and we're just used to it. We take them for granted, like this is, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and nobody actually even questions that. But that's a very unnatural thing to do things to begin with. Is this all clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Very.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, this is good. This is really good.
All right. So that's what we do with a cleansing and detox program. And I use both words, cleansing and detox, because there is a distinction between them. Detoxification in itself are the chemical processes by which our body neutralizes and eliminates toxic molecules. and the body does that with exogenous toxic molecules, but also with endogenous toxic molecules. Our cells, just by the fact of living, are burning oxygen and glucose and doing all sorts of things and generating waste products. Some of the waste products of our life, of our cell life, our metabolism, are uric acid, lactic acid, homocysteine. There's many toxins, toxic chemicals, toxic molecules that are produced just as waste products of normal cell metabolism. So the body has systems within to deal with all these things and eliminate all these things. And on top of that, we add all the exogenous chemicals and molecules that are toxic as well. And somehow, miraculously, the liver knows how to deactivate many of the toxic molecules that are invented way after our bodies, evolved and were designed by nature to be what they are today. So detoxification is the deactivation, the neutralization of these toxic molecules, and this mostly happens in the liver, not only in the liver. Basically, every cell in our body has certain detoxification abilities and produces certain enzymes for the detoxification processes. But mostly all of these processes happen, or most of these processes happen in the liver. And the liver receives all the blood of our body constantly, is filtering the blood of our body, and is looking for these molecules. And when it detects these molecules, it activates something called the cytochrome P450 enzymes, which basically create certain molecular reactions that neutralize these toxic molecules, and also changes their chemical qualities and transforms them from liposoluble into water soluble or hydrosoluble. What happens is this: about 90% of the xenobiotics, which is how we call these toxic molecules that come from outside, about 90% of them are lipophilic. They only dissolve in fat. So for us to eliminate them is very difficult, because we mostly eliminate things that are water soluble through our breath, through our sweat, through our urine, and through our feces. We have the ability to eliminate water soluble stuff, but not fat soluble stuff. And 90% of the toxic molecules that we're exposed to are only fat soluble or lipophilic. They love fat. So when they enter our circulation, these toxic lipophilic molecules, they will only dissolve in fat. So the body, in order to defend itself, in order to adapt, surrounds these toxic molecules with fat. So the body retains fat and even generates fat. And this is one of the things that is not talked about in America. We talk about the obesity epidemic, and it's not only in America, it's all over the world these days. But and we talk about calories, and we talk about lack of exercise, and we talk about genetic factors, but nobody's talking about the fact that a lot of this fat that we are generating and retaining is a perfect adaptation mechanism that the body has in order to buffer the irritation and the mess that these molecules would cause. Now, at the beginning, when you start being exposed to these toxic molecules, there is fat in the body, and so these molecules will migrate and will lodge themselves in the fat that already exists in our body. And the fat is not only around our love handles. Fat is in our brain. About 60% or more of our brain is actually fatty tissue. It's around all of our glands: thyroid, mammary glands, prostate, ovaries, And when you look at the incidence of cancers in the industrialized cities in the world, you see that the ones that are growing at a faster rate are the cancers of the organs that are actually that have a high content of fat. And then also in the rest of the body there's fat. There's fat under our skin, and there's other in the mesenterium, which is what the tissue that surrounds the gut, the intestines. So there's fat in many different places, and that's where these toxic molecules get lodged and exist. So if you just force your body to burn fat by exercising and eating a high protein, low carbohydrate diet and so on and so forth, without enhancing and supporting the detoxification processes, you're actually getting your body into trouble, because you're going to force the release of these toxic molecules that cannot be eliminated as far as so far as the liver is so overloaded, right? And this is the detox part of the detox cleansing program. The cleansing part is the actual elimination of these now neutralized and made water-soluble toxins. And that happens through sweat, through urine, through feces, even through the breath, because the breath carries some water as well. So that's the distinction between detox and cleansing, right? Cleansing is all the elimination part of it, and detox is the chemical reactions that render these toxic molecules neutralized and that's how they are made water soluble. Is this clear?
Yes, this is really good, Dr. Junger. I don't want to interrupt you if you were going somewhere, but I think what would be interesting to people as they start to go into this detox and cleanse is some like discussion of what we might be able to expect if we have intense detox experience, and what we can do to help mitigate some of that if we do go into that place where it's pretty intense.
Yeah. I made a few videos way back when I started the whole clean program that are divided between week 1, week 2, and week 3, and what to expect and what is happening. And I'm going to forward you, Kate, those. But basically what happens is, during the first few days of the detox program, things are changing kind of drastically for a lot of people. For you guys, if you did the pre-cleanse, they're going to be less drastic. So that is a good thing. Doing the pre-cleanse is a good thing, because it kind of minimizes the possible side effects of entering this intense or more intense detox mode. But at the beginning, the first few days, people can experience all kinds of symptoms, from headaches to nausea to breaking of the skin with pimples, bad breath, tiredness, and there is really a long list of possible symptoms. Now, having said that, most people don't experience intense symptoms, right? For example, if you were hooked on coffee and you depended on coffee for functioning, like a lot of people do in America, you may experience more severe headaches, than people that don't drink coffee or are not dependent on coffee for their energy. But those kind of symptoms, those kind of side effects, if you will, they disappear pretty fast, and just going through them is important without taking anything to mitigate them. Like, for example, do not take painkillers if you have a headache, and things like that, because they actually disappear pretty soon, and when you just go through it, and you bear with them, then the benefits are even greater. If you do take painkillers, it's not the end of the world, but then the detox, the benefits are kind of slowed down as well. Then after that, after the initial 2-3 days, things start getting really good, and people start feeling a heightened sense of alertness and feel more awake and more energetic. By the time that you enter the second week, some people are so energetic they cannot even sleep, and many times they say, I'm having difficulty sleeping because I have so much energy. And in that case, I say, don't force yourself to sleep. If you are having so much energy, go and do something. Order your house, or clean it, or do the paperwork that was stacking up for the past few months, or answer your email, or whatever it is, or go for a run, whatever it is. But go and spend that energy a little bit, and don't force yourself to sleep. And then by the third week, people are having really amazing experiences, and you, Kate, know about them because you've witnessed them so many times already, and you wrote me those amazing emails after your programs telling me about the experiences of everybody there. But I don't want to tell you I don't want to be what do you say when you tell somebody the end of the movie? Spoiler alert, right? I don't want to spoil it, because there's always this idea that if you tell people what to expect, then they're expecting it, and maybe their expectations are not met, or maybe because they were expecting it, they're not so surprised. But weight loss and tightening of the skin and this glow that is very noticeable to other people come in, and those are really nice benefits of the cleanse itself. Is this what you were asking me, Kate?
Yeah, this is really helpful too. Can you talk about some of the maybe more mental reactions that people might have to the detox?
Yeah,
like emotional difficulty, things like that, just briefly.
Sure. One of the comments that I get a lot, and I get this from mostly from mothers, because they're the ones that spend more time with kids usually, but I've gotten it from men too, is that one of the recent comments that I got was, I've become such a much better mother, and then I really wanted to talk to this person, so we tracked this person down, and I had a phone conversation. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, I am so present because I'm so alert, and my mood is so much more stable that I am able to give my kids a much better quality of attention, and in turn this reflects in a much better behavior of my kids. Sometimes kids misbehave and are naughty and throw tantrums as a way to call attention. It's like starving for attention. And when you actually give this attention to them, then they don't need to call for attention in itself. So that was a very interesting side effect or benefit, and I've heard that from a lot of people already. So stabilization of the mood, lightening of the dark moods,
What about at the beginning, though? Like, what about when you feel like you want to strangle everybody around you when you first start the cleanse?
Yeah, that.
Do you have any advice on that?
That happens too. Well, the good thing about doing it as a group is that you can buddy up with different people and talk it through, and that is really, really helpful. Even if you don't buddy up with anybody and you're at home, kind of talk about it with your partner and explain what's going on and what you're up to, and and warn them, because at the beginning it's true. At the beginning, it may be a little bit rough. Some people have mood swings, and as you detox, you also actually detoxing bad moods, and even bad dreams. A lot of people have nightmares, in the first half of the cleanse, and this is a very common thing. So yeah, it is possible to have these reactions, and don't be alarmed and don't be discouraged by them, because that actually means that things are working.
All right. What I'd like to do is see if we've got some questions from the group, and have some real specific questions for you.
Fantastic.
Okay. Raise your hand if you have a question that you'd like to ask Dr. Junger. Yes, Selma.
The 12-hour window from meal to meal, are you cheating if you drink your tea, like you get out of bed, like I get up at 6, I'm not going to eat again until 8. Is it okay to drink just green tea?
The question was, during the 12-hour window of fasting, can you drink tea, for example, during that 12-hour window?
Absolutely. Liquids are fine. Tea, water, that's completely fine. Actually, it's even better if you do. The 12-hour window is mostly a rest in digestion. So nothing that the body needs to digest. Liquids are completely fine.
Okay. Any other questions from the group? Jennifer, do you have a question? You want to ask in front of everybody? Patrick, do you have one? I'll ask a question while folks are thinking a little bit. I have a good friend coming in on Friday. It's her birthday. It's a big one. My question is, I'm supposed to start the cleanse Thursday. Is it better for me to wait and start the next week, or then after she leaves, or to start and then maybe celebrate in the middle and then restart? Like, just in general, if somebody has something going on right now, how does it affect the cleanse if you break it for a special occasion?
Well, it depends on how you break it. If you break it with bread or pasta and cheese and cake and sugar and coffee and alcohol, a lot of people, when they break the fast, they break it with all these things, and the reactions can be pretty intense. The more along the cleanse you are, the more along the program you are, the worse the reactions can be if you break it in that way, right? But usually what happens is that people that start the cleanse and then an event is coming up or something, they actually don't feel like breaking the cleanse, and maybe their breaking of the cleanse, their version of breaking of the cleanse would be having an extra dinner that night instead of a shake, but from the elimination diet, and that's not a big deal. So if you're going to break it with the things in the list that are not allowed, and the more of that you have, the more of a problem that would be. And the only problem is that it may be very uncomfortable for you. At the beginning, when I started researching this and trying it myself, I was trying all kinds of programs, and I was doing a juice cleanse, and I was on day 5 or something, and I had a visitor from out of town, and I went with my friends to a burger place, and I decided to have a burger, and I ended up in the hospital with severe abdominal pains, and it was pretty bad. So if you're going to break it in that way, then it's better to start later.
Okay. Yes.
How much food do we have at lunch?
The question was, how much food should we have at lunch?
Enough that you are about 80% full. Now, what that means, I'm not pretty sure because it's different for everybody. But not stuff your face and really get full. You know, the Japanese actually say this all the time, that you have to leave the table when you're 80% full, and you have to kind of learn what that means for you. But this is not a starvation. This is not a deprivation program. You eat, until you're satisfied. Does that answer the
Jennifer?
question?
I noticed in the book that says that soy sauce is excluded. However, these recipes have soy sauce. So my question is, what am I supposed to do?
Okay. Yeah, this is a good question. It's a real specific question. The book says soy sauce is excluded, but some recipes have soy sauce in them. What's the policy on soy sauce?
The soy sauces are very salty, and they actually come from soy, which is in the elimination diet as a no. But if you put a little bit, just for the flavor itself, is not a big deal. So that's why in the recipes we use them here and there. But the idea is that you shouldn't have it more than, if you're going to use the recipes with soy, you shouldn't do more than once or twice a week.
Okay.
It's preferred protein
Of hemp?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. The question was, well, I know the answer, but we'll ask him for two answers. The question was, is your preferred protein supplement for like the shakes that's not hemp? And I presume you'll say your clean stuff.
Well,
but something that you can buy just in a store here.
The answer is some vegetable source of protein, and I'm not going to say the clean stuff, but it's rice protein or pea protein are two very good ones. Our product has rice protein isolates, but pea protein is really good as well.
Yeah, you can get that here.
And
Okay.
the as opposed to animal derived protein, which would be whey protein. Whey protein you shouldn't use during the cleanse.
Danielle?
This is asking her for soy sauce.
Yeah, the other question is, are we still allowed to snack once we go on the 21-day cleanse?
Absolutely, yes. Keep in mind that the more you snack, the less weight loss you're going to have. So if you are interested in weight loss, then remember that rule, right? But snacking is fine, and anything that is in the allowed list from the elimination diet is okay. The best things to snack with are almonds, Brazil nuts, but only maximum a handful a day. Because some people say, "Oh, I'm going to snack with almonds," and they have a whole bag of them. There's a high content of fat and calories in nuts, so take it easy on them, right? Another really good snack food are berries, blueberries, raspberries, not strawberries because they're in the forbidden list, but blueberries and raspberries are really, really good snacks. But green juices and apples and snacking is okay.
So we got a real special question, specific question. How far should you space between your last snack and your liquid dinner?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
All right, I want to know what his favorite juice is.
Stephanie wants to know what your favorite juice is.
I have a guy here in LA that delivers juices to my house, and he does these really intense green juices, and he puts kale and broccoli and celery. He also puts jalapeno peppers and ginger. It's so intense. Sometimes, you have to kind of take a breath after each time you drink it. That's my favorite drink. And what I can do is I can ask him for the exact recipe and send it to you guys.
That would be great.
I will.
Yes. A question about should we be eating garlic every day?
Well, there's no
And
should.
how to eat it.
There's no should. In the book I list a bunch of things that you can do to enhance the processes and the results. Garlic is one of them. Olive oil at night is another one. And I think that the best way to eat garlic is raw, from the garlic itself. And the way that I used to do it at the beginning was I used to put it between two little slices of apple and chew it. But I actually like to chew it now directly. It's a little intense for a lot of people, but that's the way I like it. But even if you swallow it as a whole, it also works. And if you don't want to do that, there's garlic extract pills that you can have that also have beneficial effects.
Now a question about the olive oil. Is there another way to take it than to just do a shot of olive oil at night?
The owner of the We Care Spa does olive oil enemas on herself. So that's another way of doing it. But that's a little bit drastic for a lot of people. So drinking it is the best way to do it. And the reason and the reason I suggest that people take olive oil every night is because olive oil will stimulate the liver to squeeze the bile into the gallbladder, and then the gallbladder to squeeze the bile into the intestines, into the duodenum, and that's one way of intensifying, the emptying of the hepatic ducts and the gallbladder, and the bile itself will help with the emulsifying fats and all the digestive processes that happen during the night. And it also lubricates the intestines, as well as provides omega-3 fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory nutrients. So there's a lot of benefits to olive oil, and that's one of the reasons why I suggest people do it. Now, if you don't do it, then it's not like you're not going to get all the benefits. You're still going to get a lot of the benefits. This will give you an extra edge.
Okay, two things. I wish you could see Susan's face.
And one more thing about that. If you drink the olive oil and then you chase it with some water with lemon, in a second you get rid of the taste that is uncomfortable for some people.
And we missed what you said about the spa, what they do.
The what?
We missed what you said at the beginning, what they do at the spa.
The owner of the We Care Spa actually does olive oil enemas.
Nice. Okay, that brings me to another question.
Wait. And she goes even farther than that, because when she puts the olive oil, then she actually does headstands so that it goes down there, and tries not to go to the bathroom until the next morning. Now, when you look at her, she's about 80 something years old, and she looks 20 years or 25 years younger, and dances 3 times a week and travels around the world. Now, I'm not saying that those are due to the olive oil enemas, but I'm sure that it's giving her a little bit of an edge as well.
Okay, I want to ask a related question before we have another one. Some people saw this on Facebook. I signed up for a coupon to get a colon hydrotherapy. My first time. Is there a good time in the 3 weeks that's the best time to do it? Like first week, the second week, the third week? Any advice? I want to put it off as long as I can, but
if when I learned about cleansing and detoxification, and I was first exposed to cleansing and detoxification at the We Care Spa. Over there, they actually do it every day. There's a colonic in the program. There's a colonic session every single day. The most need for it, or the most beneficial effect, is at the times where something called the mucoid plaque starts forming, and that doesn't happen before the 7th to 10th day. So from then on is where you're going to get the most beneficial effects from colonic hydrotherapy.
Thank you. I'll let you guys know. Yeah. Oh, very good question. Somebody said if you don't have a gallbladder, should you still do the olive oil?
Sure, because the gallbladder is just the reservoir of bile. It's like the trash can of the liver. But if you don't have that, you still have hepatic ducts that will squeeze the bile into the cholecystectomy and the small intestines, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Lemon with the olive oil, not after it.
One more question about the olive oil. Can you mix the lemon with it, or do you have to taste it?
The lemon, the water with lemon, is as a chaser, so you get rid of the taste in your mouth.
But could you mix it in just so it tastes better?
I never tried it that way. I don't know how it tastes when you mix it. But be my guest and do the experiment. Let me know.
Okay. Any last pressing questions? One more. No, but I'll ask. One last question.
Yes.
Heather was asking about what your thoughts are on the super intense liver and gallbladder cleanses that are like 4 days. It's an apple juice cleanse. Do you know about this?
The liver gallbladder flushes?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of different thinking about that. I did a few of them. I'm not that sure that what you see coming out is actually gallstones, which a lot of people claim, the people that write these books about gallbladder flushes. Listen, they can be a little troublesome if you only prepare yourself for just a few days before, like 2 or 3 days. I think that one needs at least a week of a program similar to the clean program, or actually sometimes even more intense, just juicing before you take the 12 ounces of olive oil and flush your system in that way. I've had a couple of people that I know that ended up with impacted gallstones and ended up in the hospital. So you got to be a little careful with that. Some of these gallbladder flushes, they actually make you prepare a couple of days or 3 days before you take the large amount of olive oil. You got to be careful with that. I think they're still useful, even if what you see coming out are not actually gallstones, but just bile that emulsified fat and bile surrounding it. I think that they're still useful, and I've seen benefits from them. I'm not an expert on gallbladder flushes. One really good source of information for that is a book by Andreas Moritz, and I think he calls it the gallbladder flush program or something like that. But Andreas Moritz, he was an incredible guy. He actually recently died, but an amazing scientist. He wrote many books. One of them is Cancer is Not a Disease, It's Just a Survival Mechanism. That's a really good book as well. And this guy, in my opinion, is the best source of information for that kind of program.
All right, this has been amazing. We thank you very much. I don't want to take any more of your time, and I want to let folks leave on time from our meeting, so I'm going to say thank you. We're going to talk to you not next week, but right before we start the elimination.
Excellent, excellent.
I'm sorry, the reintroduction.
So listen, this is my favorite thing to do.
All right.
I really love doing this, and I'm so happy that I can share with you guys this experience. And any questions that you have between now and the next chat, Kate, you have my email. You can collect a bunch of them, and either I'll answer it myself or our team will. You can also be in touch with Jesse, which will support you in any way that you need.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Bye, everybody.